Planning to tie the knot in the Cornhusker state? Well, before you can walk down the aisle, you've got to navigate the paperwork. And honestly, getting the legal side of things right is just as crucial as picking out the perfect rings, because a single mistake here could completely derail your big day. Today, we're taking the dense legal statutes of Nebraska and turning them into your ultimate step-by-step roadmap to the altar. Actually, pause for a second. Before you even book that venue or send out those beautiful invitations, we need to shatter a few assumptions you might have about Nebraska law. For instance, did you know your wedding could legally be delayed by a full 6 months? Or that in the eyes of the state, an 18-year-old isn't actually considered an adult? Crazy, right? Well, in this explainer, we are breaking down everything you need to know so you're fully prepared. Here's our chronological roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. The basics and eligibility. 2. Gathering documents. 3. The application itself. 4. Timelines and fees. 5. The ceremony. And 6. Conclusion and disclaimers. All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, the basics and eligibility. Basically, who can legally marry in Nebraska? So, Nebraska law views marriage a bit differently than a romance novel does. It explicitly defines it as a civil contract that establishes a social status. And because it's a legally binding contract, the state has a pretty strong, continuous interest in regulating it. That means there are strict rules about who is actually capable of giving legal consent to enter into this union. And this brings us to Nebraska's genuinely unique age laws. Unlike most places in the country, the age of majority here is 19. If you're 19 or older, you're good to go. No parental consent needed. But if you're 17 or 18, the state still sees you as a minor. You're going to need a notarized consent form from a custodial parent or guardian, plus a certified birth certificate. And if either applicant is 16 or younger, it's a hard no. The state strictly prohibits it, and it's considered an absolute nullity. Now here's a fascinating twist. If a 17 or 18-year-old does validly get married with all that proper consent, their legal minority status vanishes instantly. By operation of law, they immediately transition into full legal adulthood the exact second they say I do. We're talking about suddenly gaining the ability to sign binding contracts, execute wills, make independent medical decisions, the whole shebang. Beyond just age requirements, we have to talk about what makes a marriage void. The state will absolutely void a marriage if there's bigamy, meaning you're already legally married to someone else, or if a party lacks the mental competence to consent. Same goes for close blood relatives, like first cousins or closer. Interestingly, an affliction with a venereal disease makes the marriage voidable, meaning it can be annulled. Oh, and if you're banking on a common law marriage in Nebraska, you're out of luck, unless it was established way back before 1923. Moving right along to Section 2, Gathering Documents. Let's look at exactly what you need to bring to the clerk. You'll definitely want to use this as your ultimate before you leave the house checklist. Picture this. You finally get to the front of the line at the clerk's office, only to realize you don't know your mom's exact birth city. Nightmare, right? To keep things moving, you need a valid, unexpired, government-issued photo ID, like a driver's license or a passport. You absolutely have to provide your social security number or a signed affidavit if you don't have one. You also need the exact birthplaces for both of you and your parents' full names, including your mother's maiden name, and if you were married before, you need the exact date that previous marriage legally ended. Next up, Section 3, the application. Here is how filing your paperwork in person actually works. Okay, so you and your future spouse both have to show up together, in person, at any county clerk's office. But here's some really great news. There are absolutely 0 residency requirements. It doesn't matter if you've lived in Omaha your entire life or if you're an out-of-state couple planning a scenic destination wedding. You are completely welcome to apply here. Which leads to a massive convenience factor. A Nebraska marriage license is valid statewide, totally regardless of which specific county actually issued it. So you have a ton of flexibility here. You can easily grab your license in Douglas County on a Tuesday and use it for your ceremony in Knox County on a Saturday. Super easy. All right, Section 4, timelines and fees. Let's talk about how much this is going to cost you and when you can actually wed. Thanks to some recent legislation effective July 2026, the application fee is now a flat $50 statewide. Now, a quick pro tip, definitely bring cash to your appointment. Not every clerk's office accepts credit cards or personal checks, and you really don't want to get caught off guard at the counter. Timing is literally everything when planning a wedding, and Nebraska has 2 very different waiting periods you've got to navigate. First, the good stuff. Nebraska is super generous when it comes to standard applications. There is 0 waiting period after your license is issued. You could legally get married that exact same day. But here's a common scenario that trips people up. If you are recently divorced, you are strictly required to wait 6 months and 1 day after that divorce decree is final before you can legally remarry in the state. So factor that into your timeline. Once that license is in your hands, the clock starts ticking. Think of this as the life cycle of your document. From day one, when the clerk hands it to you, you have a very generous 12 full months to actually hold the ceremony. That's a huge planning window. But pay close attention to the back end. The second the vows are said, your officiant has just 15 days to return that signed document to the clerk. And that final official filing, that's what actually creates your legal marriage record. Which brings us to Section 5, the ceremony, finalizing your marriage legally. So the planning is done, the big day is here. Who can actually do the honors and marry you? The state approves a whole variety of legal and religious figures. We're talking judges, retired judges, clerk magistrates, or ordained clergy. And get this, they don't even need to be Nebraska residents, just as long as they're authorized by their denomination to solemnize marriages. Now, when you're actually standing up there at the altar, Nebraska doesn't force you into some rigid script. And there's no blood test required anymore. But you absolutely must hit these 4 steps perfectly. 1. Present the valid license to your officiant. 2. Solemnly declare yourselves spouses out loud. 3. Make sure you have at least 2 adult witnesses physically present to observe that declaration. And 4. The officiant signs and returns the license. Honestly, make double sure those 2 witnesses are there because without them, the legal criteria just haven't been met. And finally, Section 6, Conclusion and Disclaimers, wrapping up your journey to the altar. Just a quick reminder before we wrap up. While we've done a comprehensive deep dive into the statutes today, this explainer is purely for informational purposes. Every couple's situation is just a little bit different, so it's always incredibly smart to consult a legal professional or reach out directly to your local county clerk for personalized advice. So, I'm really curious, which of Nebraska's unique laws caught you off guard the most? Was it that 19-year-old age of majority, or maybe the strict 6-month waiting period after a divorce? Let me know how this changes your wedding timeline down in the comments. Thanks so much for learning with us today, and happy wedding planning.